Hi, good morning. This is Shireen, and I wanted to talk with you today about the hidden rules of the social class. Um, this is a little different. Normally, I do my messages and sermons, and I'll be back later with that. But I wanted to talk to you about the knowledge of the hidden rules of the social class. It's a questionnaire, and this was adapted from Ruby K. Payne's book, The Fourth Revised Edition, 2005. So I want to give credit to the author of this document that I'm using to make sure that they get their credit because this is not my actual document, but I wanted to give credit. This is adapted from the Ruby K. Payne's book, Fourth Revised Edition, 2005. And I just wanted to talk to you about the hidden rules of the social class. And the reason why I would like to talk to you about this is because there's three different levels of the social class, and there's hidden rules: surviving in poverty, functioning in the middle class, and then also functioning in the upper class. And I believe that once we learn to once we learn to survive in poverty, then we can function. We have a better level, a better opportunity to succeed at reaching the next level, which is the middle class. And then once you reach the level of middle class, then you can strive for the level of you know of the upper class. However, I think that it's worthy to note that if you have small children, or you have grandchildren or great grandchildren, or you're working with youth, you are a mentor. It's good to be able to talk to children and to teach them about these basic survival skills in poverty. And if you're able to do that, it really does open up a window and an opportunity for younger children and even teenagers, if you didn't start at a younger age, but even as a teenager or young adult, to help them to become successful um, in surviving in poverty and then move into the middle class. So I wanted to share this questionnaire with you. It's the purpose of it is to help you gain insight into the taken for granted knowledge needed to survive in various social classes. Um, and so what I wanted to do is just go over surviving in poverty. And I wanted to do it in a manner that if you are watching, you're listening, you can get pen and paper and you can write these questions down. And the thing is if you are at least bit unsure, don't check the item if you're unsure. If you don't have children, you can use yourself or your siblings as a reference group if you don't have children. But you would place a check mark in front of each item that you definitely know how to do. So, surviving in poverty, number one, I know which churches and sections of town have the best rummage sales. Number two, I know where the nearest food bank is and when it is open. Number three, I know which grocery stores' garbage bins can be assessed for thrown away food. Number four, I know how to get someone out of jail. Number five, I know how to physically fight and can defend myself if necessary. Number six, I know how a person can get a gun even if they have a police record. Number seven, I know how to keep my clothes from being stolen at the laundromat. Number eight, I know what problems to look for in a used car. Number nine, I know how to live without a checking account. Number 10, I know how to get by without electricity and without a phone. Number 11, I know how to get by without Number 11, I know how to use a knife as scissors. Number 12, I can entertain a group of friends with my personality and my stories. Number 13, I know what to do when I don't have the money to pay my bills. Number 14, I know how to move my residence in less than a day. Number 15, I know how to feed 8 people for 5 days on $100. Number 16, I know how to get and use food stamps. Number 17, I know where the free medical clinics are and when they are open. Number 18, I am very good at trading and bartering. Number 19, I know how to get around without a car. Number 20, I know what day of the month welfare and social security checks arrive. You would be actually amazed at how many people really do not know the answer to all of these questions. Um, it's very interesting that a lot of young people don't know this and they don't have the basic survival skills of being able to survive in poverty. And I think it's important that young people that are living in poverty or in an impoverished community should have these basic skills, and so that they are able to function and have a better opportunity to get out of poverty. And so nowhere on this forum did you see anything about killings and murders and stealing. Nothing on this forum. And so, we always tend to say we have to crawl before we can walk. And that's very true. And we also need support of others to help us learn to crawl, because we hold a baby until they start wanting to get down and move around. We put them on the floor, we put them in a walker, and then once they start to master walking and running in that walker, we take them out and we put them on the floor, and they start lifting, they can lift themselves up and they start to crawl, and then they start to walk. They may fall down, but they get back up. And so, even surviving in poverty, we are going to have trials and tribulations, and we are going to fall down, but we can get back up when we have the basic survival skills of being able to survive in poverty. And one of the things, I was looking at this, and I was able to mark off pretty much all of these, because there was a time that I had to survive, you know, and learn these things. And I actually knew these things leaving the military, even before I went into service, but leaving the military, um, you know, and it's interesting because you would not really know that if you even just have $33,650 in the bank, you're actually not considered a person that is, you're considered middle class. The lower end of middle class, you consider middle class. So, um, this is surviving in poverty. Then we have functioning in the middle class. The same thing, about the questionnaire. I know how to get my children signed up for little league, soccer, piano, and lessons. I know how to properly set a table. I know which stores are most likely to carry the clothing brands my family wears. My children know the best name brands in clothing. I know how to order in a nice restaurant. I know how to use a credit card, checking account, and savings account. I know how to use an ATM card, and I know where the nearest ATM machines are. The children in my family expect to go to college. Um, I understand term life insurance, disability insurance, house and flood insurance. I know how to get the best interest rates on a mortgage or new car loan. I understand what a pension annuity is and how it works. I understand the difference among the principal, interest, and escrow statements on my house payment. I know how to help my children with their homework. If my children have a problem at school, I do not hesitate to contact the principal or teacher. I know how to decorate the house for different holidays. I know how to get a library card and how to check out books at the library. I know where to go and register to vote and where my local polling place is. I repair items in my house immediately when they break, or I know a repair service and call it. I use at least two of the following on a regular basis: laptop, cell phone, DVD player, MP3 player, digital camera, social networking sites. And I know how to use various tools in the garbage or basement. So getting to this middle class questionnaire, it says right here, functioning in the middle class. And the reason why I'm talking about this, because I know some young adults, they know how to function in the middle class, but do they really know how to function uh, before they get to middle class, surviving in poverty? And I'm not saying that everyone is impoverished. So I don't want to get that mixed up, or misconstrued. But how we learn our social classes and how we are able to function and survive in those social classes does give us a better opportunity and a greater access to be able to move to the next social class, the social level. And so there are some things that you can probably check off in the functioning middle class, but what can you check off in surviving in poverty? And I wouldn't take the offense to this, because this really actually is something that we can really look into. How many people do you know, younger people, that really know how to live without a checking account? Do they know how to go purchase money orders? We can go down this list. Do they know how to purchase money orders? This is number 9. You know how to live without a checking account, but do you know how to purchase money orders to pay a bill? Do you know how to get by without electricity and without a phone? Well, without electricity, we use candles. When there would be heavy storms in the Midwest, we use candles to get by without electricity. And um, and then some people went out and had wood and lit fires, depending on where you lived at. And some people even set a fire in a trash can. I remember this, and put a grill on top and barbecue. I mean, it's not safe, of course, but people did it. And we can still survive without a phone. We did it then, and we think that we can't survive without a cell phone, but actually, we were able to survive without a cell phone until they started taking away all the pay phones. And if you had coin in your pocket, then you would call and use a payphone. A lot of times we say it's not safe, to use a payphone, and you very seldom find payphones, anymore. But we would go in the restroom and clean off get a wet paper towel and come back to clean off the phone to be able to use it. And I know how to use a knife and scissors. Do you know how to use a knife and scissors when you need to cut paper, or maybe some fabric that's kind of thin, something you need to cut? You should be able to use a knife and scissors. And can you entertain a group of friends with your personality and stories without drinking, without drugs, you know, without some type of pills to harm someone? Can you just entertain your group of friends with a personality and with your stories? My family members have told me I can do that. And so I kind of laughed at that. But however, I believe I could do that, definitely do that. I've done it in the past. And then, do you know what to do when you don't have money to pay your bills? Do you know how to call credit card companies and call the electric company, the phone company, the gas company, the water company? Do you know how to get in touch with those people if you don't know, those entities, excuse me, if you don't know how to pay your bills? And then, do you know how to move in less than a day? Well, when you're living in poverty, you really, most of the time, don't have a lot. So it's easier to move in less than a day your residence when you don't have a lot. And then, do you know how to feed 8 people for 5 days on $100? It's hard now because of the, because everything has went up in price. Everything's expensive, so that may be difficult. But you know what? I could feed 8 people on 5 days on $100. You just have to know how to budget and to shop. You just know how to be able to do it. Instead of buying the most expensive steak, you get multi packs that you can afford. You look for sales, and you can do it. How and do you know how to get and use food stamps? Are you in a situation where you qualify for food stamps? And don't let anyone else tell you that you don't qualify. So you always have to do your own research and look into it. And so therefore, if you needed to get food stamps, you can go to the Department of Social Services. You can actually apply online now and put in your information to see if you qualify to get food stamps. And then knowing where the free medical clinics are and when they are open. There should be a free medical clinic pretty much in any community. And if there's not a free medical clinic in your community, do you know how to find out and access that information? If you have a cell phone, you can Google it and look it up. And you can also ask other people, ask in the neighborhood, ask in the community. When you network and talk to other people, your neighbors or whoever, a lot of times they can give you that information. And then, are you very good at trading and bartering? Sometimes we can trade things that we no longer need, or that are, that we're not using, that's still very good, or it could be a brand new item, but you need something else in lieu of that. You learn how to trade and barter. Or, hey, I can do that job if you give me some food, or I can do that job, or hey, I can keep your property clean if you give me a room, free of board, because I'm going to be able to keep your property, up, and cut your grass and take out the trash and all those things. And do you know how to get around without a car? There's a lot of bus companies now, the city buses, that are allowing young people to ride the bus for free. And then with during the COVID, they were able to ride the bus for free, all of us. And I learned that several months back, just by talking to someone that was waiting at the bus stop. And I started talking with her, and we got to talking, and she didn't have a phone. And I looked it up, and I called the bus station for her, the transit station, and they told me when her bus would be there, and it came right within that time. So we have to know how to get around without a car. And I taught my son how to get around without a car, because as I was growing up in the Midwest, before I got my car, I actually took the bus everywhere. My siblings and I took the bus everywhere, swimming to the ice cream stand. That we went everywhere. We had such a great time. We took piano lessons. We had to take the bus to my grandmother's house. So a lot of things that my siblings and I did, we took the bus. Do you know what day of the month welfare and social security checks arrive? That's another thing. You can look it up or you can contact the welfare office or the social security department and they will tell you. It's just some things we have to know how to do on our own. Um, do you know how to keep your clothes from being stolen at the laundromat? Well, one of the things is don't ever leave your clothes unattended. If you are at the laundromat, you just have to be patient. And if you don't have patience, then I suggest you get a book, read your Bible, read a book, do a word find, crossword puzzle, pray about it for patience because we need patience, especially if we have a lot of clothes we need to wash at the laundromat to keep them from being stolen, we need to stay there. And sometimes it's from trial and error. A friend of mine, clothes were stolen from the laundromat one time. And so, therefore, we need to just stay at the laundromat and wait on our clothes to finish washing, put them in the dryer, and wait on them to finish drying. And then we fold them up nicely and put them in our basket or our bag and a laundry bag or whether trash bag, whatever you have accessible, to put your stuff in, your belongings in. Do you know what problems to look for in a used car? That can be a little tricky. Some women are really good at knowing these things, and some women are not. Even some men you may find today that don't know. But are you able to know what to look for in a used car? Well, making sure find out if it's been in an accident. Look at the tires. Are they good tires, or are they on on the balls of the tire? They bald. You need to look at those things. How is it on how many mileage is on this car? Does it have the original engine or a rebuilt engine? How many owners have owned this car? So those are different things that you could look for when you're going to buy looking at a used car. um, Excuse me, lost my place of thought here. um, do you know how to get a gun even if I know how a person can get a gun even if they have a police record. A lot of times it's the black market and it's people that you know. So we wouldn't recommend you go out and buy a gun. That we just don't want that. It's enough killings in the world, but do you know how to do that? I know how to physically fight and can defend myself if necessary. There are a lot of times we need to actually defend, protect ourselves, defend ourselves if necessary. We really should be aware of what's our surroundings, where we're going. Try not to walk in at nighttime. Try to stay around people if you have to get somewhere by yourself. We want to, those are things that you need to know about. Um, you need to know about to take care of yourself, to make sure you're okay. And I know how to get someone out of jail. Do you know how to actually get someone out of jail? That's locked up. A friend calls you and they tell you they're in jail. Do you know how to go and bail them out of jail? Especially if it's over the weekend, you may have to wait till Monday. And then sometime they let your friends out or family or someone or just people in general out on their own recognizance. But knowing how to get someone out of jail and finding out, once that person goes before the judge, if necessary, how much their bail is, even if they're even entitled to be able to post bond, and going to the clerk to, make sure to be able to bail them out and keeping receipts. Make sure you always keep records. And that goes back to if you're paying bills, you get money orders, you fill them out correctly. Always make sure to keep your receipts for everything. And especially when you're dealing with the judicial system, child support payments, if you even are able to pay child support when you're surviving in poverty. Because even if you make a child and you're in poverty, you are expected to pay child support, even though that's not on this list. But however, keeping receipts of everything. And then which grocery store garbage bins can be assessed for thrown away food. Back in the 80s, they used to throw food out a lot, especially old bread that at the grocery stores. Excuse me. And I remember that because I knew some people, some friends that will tell me that they how to get excuse me, to get food. They would go actually and know what grocery stores, and they would tell you which grocery store had the better food. and where it was at, because a lot of the employees would actually set the food out on a tray so that it wouldn't be thrown in the garbage, and you could go get the bread off of a rack like a tray, and then they bring it back in. And that was gracious and compassionate for people that worked in the grocery industry. That's showing compassion. A lot of people still have compassion in their heart to help people, and so we need to look at that. And then I know where the nearest food bank is and when it is open. you know Networking, once again, I have friends and we tell each other about food banks when they're going to be given food, here and there. And now it's being advertised quite a bit because of the pandemic. So we should really know the nearest food bank and how to go get food when it's open, and even share it with others if you're not going to be able to use everything. Because I know that they were giving away food, uh, and it was just so much. And if you live alone, or only a couple of people in your family, you can't use all of it. It's okay to share it with others so it doesn't go bad if you can't preserve it. And then, do you know which churches and sections of town have the best rummage sales? You know, they're selling stuff, maybe used clothing, maybe a used blender. That's Some people buy things that they never use and they had them, but they're like basically brand new, still under warranty. So you can find a lot of good things at churches and even at the Salvation Army and at the Goodwill. So the rummage sales, and your church, your local church. Do you know where your local church is? Can you call on your local pastor or priest, or bishop to pray for you? Because as leaders of the church, we ought to be praying for everyone. We ought to be able to reach out to the communities and reach out to the lost and the brokenhearted. So those are things that we can look at in surviving in poverty. And then we look at functioning in the middle class. I know how to get my children signed up for little league soccer piano lessons. Do you know how to do that at the middle class? I know how to properly set a table. You can learn that in surviving in poverty, how to properly set a table, and you can actually Google it. There's so many different videos out here now that you can actually Google things and it'll show you, especially on YouTube. And then I know which stores are most likely to carry the clothing brands my family wears. Most of the time, sometimes we go out and we just browse and we go to different stores. We're curious, we want to see what's out there. But mainly, most of us will shop at a certain store. And when Sears was around, that was a very good store to shop at. We knew the brands, Tough Skins, and then there was Montgomery Ward. So most of the stores we went to, we just knew exactly where we were going, where the brands were, and that's where we shopped at. Even J.C. Penney's have certain brands that people, like Worthington, clothing brands. So there's different, excuse me, different stores. And now there's so many discount stores that when you go in there, you just find a lot of different things. Sometimes there's hit and miss because there's all different type of stores. You have Ross, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, you have all DDs, you have all these different stores, Treasure Hunt, that's out here now. But back in the day, which stores were most likely to carry the clothing brands my family wears? And that's just naming a few of the stores. But again, my children know the best name brands in clothing. My son knew that. And I know how to order in a nice restaurant. Do you know how to order in a nice restaurant? My son and I, one time, he was 12, and we went to this restaurant, and my son he knew how to order. He was so well mannered, and I was so proud of him. And it was funny because he said, "Mommy, why didn't you tell me we were going to this restaurant? I would have wore a shirt and tie." And I said, "Well, son, I really didn't know. It was just like a spur of the moment. And we went to this nice restaurant, and it was amazing. And he liked the music that was playing. It was jazz. It was nice music. But I was just so impressed with my son at the time because he was like so well mannered." So I think as you train a child up in the way they should go, they'll never depart from it. Now, knowing how to use a credit card, checking account, and savings account. We all should know how to do that. We really should learn that surviving in poverty, but it's functioning in the middle class because most of the time in the poverty, you won't have, a credit card or a checking account, but you may be able to get a savings account, in the poverty level. So when you get to the middle class level, credit card, checking account, and savings account, not abusing your checking account. They have a checkbook with a ledger, so you're able to, everything you spend, deduct and write it down and subtract from it, and make sure you know how to add and subtract. And if you're having trouble with that, maybe you have a calculator that you can use or an adding machine. Most people have a calculator on their cell phone so they don't, on their cell phone. And then for your checking account, and then the credit card. Don't max it out if you don't have to. Don't use it, unless you really need to use it. But if you're using it for just all these different small purchases, it adds up. And you also need to look at the interest rate on your credit card. Are you getting a good interest rate? And if you're not getting a good interest rate, you may want to consider getting rid of that credit card or paying it off, and just getting rid of it and closing it and never looking back. I've heard people put their credit cards in a freezer and freeze them, and then the savings account. How much money are you putting aside? What about paying yourself? Putting some money aside, even if it's just $10 a week, putting it aside. And what about your tithes? If you pay tithes and offerings, being able to, pay your tithes and offerings as well. And that's even tax deductible. If you're paying your tithes and offerings and you're giving them to the church, make sure you get a printout from your church of everything that you have contributed. And that's not just from your church, but that's from any charity that you give money to or anything like that. Make sure you get a printout so that you can put that on your taxes. And do you know how to use an ATM card and where the nearest ATM is? You always want to use an ATM where it's safe. You don't want to go into areas that could not be safe. And you make sure you don't go to the ATM if you don't have to late at night when it's dark. You always want to go to an ATM where it's safe outside, it's lighted area, or either during banking hours when the bank is open, or a drive-through teller where you can interact with someone, where you may not have to get out of your car. And covering your PIN number when you use your ATM card, cover your PIN number, to where no one is able to look over your shoulder. And there should be people standing back. And even before the pandemic, people need to have social distancing anyway, so they're not up on you, even in the grocery stores, so people are not standing right up over you and things like that. And then the children in your family, do they expect to go to college? If they expect to go to college, that's something that we start as start when children are even before you have them or in the womb, because if they're expecting to go to college or you want your children to go to college, they may decide when they get older they don't want to, but at least you have thought about it, you are preparing for it. And then one of the things that is very important is understanding term life insurance, disability insurance, house and flood insurance. We do need to understand our life insurance policies. How do they work? How much is on there? Will it pay for this or that? Will it pay my house off? Will it pay off if someone passes away? Will I be able to cover their funeral expenses and things like that? We need to look at that. And then with our house and flood insurance, how much does it cover? Will they cover this if my house flooded, or or if my roof got damaged, by adverse weather, things like that. We need to look into that, because in some areas, flood insurance is separate and earthquake insurance is separate. So we need to look into those things. And do I know how to get the best interest rates on a mortgage or a new car loan? We need to look into that, and see who's offering the best rates on a mortgage or car loan. Sometimes credit unions offer good interest rates on car loans, but sometimes your credit has to be superb too in order, to get a good interest rate on a car loan or a mortgage. They're looking at, what is it, eight. Your credit score needs to be like at 8 or something like that in order to get, a good mortgage or car loan. And then, do you understand how a pension and annuity, how does it work? What is it, and how does a pension annuity work? And then understanding the difference among the principal, interest, and escrow statements on your house payment. Because sometimes, like, you have it, we call it an impound account, and some people refer to it as an escrow account. And so you pay, that you pay that, all of that is included with your mortgage. And so what happens is a certain amount goes towards your escrow account for your tax and insurance, and then your mortgage payment is this. So you have to know how to read that, and you can actually claim that when you file for your taxes. So it's always good to keep all your W-2s, 1099s, whatever you need to file, your taxes with, so that you can, and even charity, so you can get all of what you need back when you claim your taxes. And then I know how to help my children with their homework. That's very important, because some parents do not have a higher education. So it's hard sometimes to teach children what's going on as far as their schoolwork. So sometimes it's good to go to the library. Sometimes there's tutors at the library. And I know that this is social distancing now, but now they even have tutoring, that's online, where children can get help. They're offering their services, to get children help with their homework. But it's always good if we can understand and know how to help our children succeed. And then if my children have a problem at school, I do not hesitate to contact the teacher or principal. And I want to encourage parents, definitely encourage parents, legal guardians. If your children, you are a foster parent, or having trouble with a teacher or having trouble at school, whether it is with a teacher or principal. I didn't mean to say that, but at that time, but I'm going to say that because sometimes a teacher could be having problems with the child or vice versa. So, it's good to sit down with your children and find out how their day went. Every day is good to sit down with your children or child and find out every day how their day went when it comes to school, and even without school, but just how their day went, whether it's at daycare, at school, or just at home. We need to know how their day went. And we need to know, were there any problems? Did anything happen to you at school that I need to know about, that you don't want to talk about, but I need to know about? That's important. Let me say that again. Is there something that happened to you at school or happened to you today that you don't want to talk about, but I need to know about? Sometimes we can rephrase the question, because if children are having problems at school and they don't want to talk about it, but the parent needs to know about it so that they can contact the teacher or principal and let your children know that you're doing it out of love and concern, not just for them, but for other children if it's happening to, and that you do, that you do respect their privacy. You're not trying to make a public issue about it, but you want to make sure that things get done. And sometimes it's not in our control when things go public, especially when it's very grievous. But however, we want to make sure our children feel safe and they feel open to come and talk to us about things. And so we want to always keep that line of communication open to be able to make sure that your child is being taken care of, they're successful at school, they're getting all the learning that they need, and that you're there to support them and help them with what they need to succeed and have a successful life and be well at school, getting through school, so being successful through their journey in school. And then I know how to decorate the house for different holidays. Most people know how to do that. It's, Halloween, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. I'm not promoting anything on my channel, but it's just an example. But whatever you celebrate, Easter, the resurrection day, whatever you celebrate, do you know how to decorate your house for different holidays? And then you know how to get a library card and how to check out books at the library. That's very important. Getting a library card. Library cards are usually free. Now, if you lose one and have to replace it, they will charge you. But library cards are free. Your first library card is free, and you actually can get a library card in different I guess different jurisdictions or precincts. Like the city, the city and the county libraries are different. Like where I reside at, in my municipality or city, like I have a library card in my city, and then I have a library card in another city that's local, that's so close, and then a library card. And I have like four different library cards. And the reason why is because I go to school. And so I have to be able to access information where I'm at. So if I'm somewhere at work on my lunch, then I can access the sources that I need to use their computers to get homework done, to look up information, journals, to write papers. So I'm giving out some examples. So a library card is important to have. Take your children to the library to read books, to do book reports. It's a good way to promote education, learning. Reading is fundamental, and it really is fundamental. And you learn a lot more reading. You learn a lot more when you're reading, because you're not talking, because you're reading and you're consuming information, and you can even take your time and write notes. The library usually is a very nice place to go. I noticed a little of the library being a little noisy now. Things have changed, but when I was growing up, going to the library, we had to be extremely quiet in the library, whether we were at school or out in a public library. And the thing about the library, make sure you turn your books back in on time. Take care of those books. Read them. Don't eat and drink while you're reading a book. Be responsible for the books because they're access for other children to read books and that don't have access to go out and buy a book. You can't always buy books, but the library usually has a lot of books out there. And even if you need books that you saw on the internet you want to read, the library may have that book. Okay. And then sometimes they have a bin out front to get that library book back to the library on time so you don't accrue fines. Because if you turn back in a library book late, a lot of times there are fines. And so you want to make sure that you don't accrue fines when you're checking out books and have to return them. And then this is important, very important. And this is what a lot of people are talking about now. Voting. So it says, I know where to go and register to vote and where my local polling place is. If you've never voted before, it's very important to start finding out where your local polling place is before the elections come. Find this out now and then register to vote. Make sure you register to vote and you do it the correct way because you want to make sure that when you register to vote, that if you go to a local polling place, that's where you're supposed to be because you don't want to get there and they tell you, oh, no, this is not your polling place. It's somewhere else. So you want to make sure that you register to vote, and then where your local polling place is. Those are very important things. And then you also want to make sure that you do your research on these candidates before you vote. Your vote is private, and don't ever let anyone tell you not to vote or that your vote doesn't count, and that, to try to sway your vote and tell you who to vote for. And look at integrity. You got to look at the integrity of the candidates that's out here. Have they been consistent? Have they worked in the community? Do you know the candidates that are running for office? Are they approachable? Are they, do they have attributes of humanity? Are they, do they have a love for man and womankind? Have they shown you that they can be fair when it comes to equality? Are they working for the good of the city? Have they brought jobs in? When you called the police department or your city councilman office and went to meetings, did they allow you to be heard or did they drown you out? Did they take your concerns, serious and say, we're going to look into it? Did they get back to you? Those are things that we need to look at when we're considering voting for people in office. Are they willing to come out into your community? When you have a neighborhood watch meeting, are they willing to come and give you information? So we need to look at things, when it comes to registering to vote, and where our local polling place is and who we're going to vote for. Those are important things to do, especially when we are in the middle class. And good morning, Miss Sunny B. Lovely. I actually have been talking about the knowledge of the hidden rules of the social class. It's a questionnaire, and it was adapted from Ruby K. Payne's book, The Fourth Revised Edition, 2005. This is not my questionnaire, so I definitely want to give credit to the author out of their book. And so I wanted to talk about this, and I think it's very good if you have small children, grandchildren, siblings, younger people, because I talked about surviving in poverty, and now we're at the functioning in the middle class, how to function in the middle class. And so I'm actually on I'm here where it says I repair items in my house immediately when they break, or I know how to repair service and call it. And call to get service repaired. Those are things that we should know in the middle class how to do those things. If we needed a plumber, do we know how to look at a plumber up and make sure we get someone out there to fix something? And I know with Home Depot, they have a list where you can put your information in, and there's 3 people that'll call you, to let you and talk to you about what your service need is. And then it says, I use at least 2 of the following on a regular basis: a laptop, cell phone, DVD player, MP3 player, digital camera, social networking site. Most of us that have access to a computer know how to do that, or we do that. And if you don't, if your local library is open, and I know they're practicing social distance, you can actually go to the library and sign up to use a computer if you need to take care of your business. And then the last question, number 20, was I know how to use various tools in the garage or basement. So if you own a home or renting a home or live in a home or townhome, do you know how to use the tools in your garage or basement? If you have a front lawn, do you know how to cut your grass? Do you know how to water the grass? There's just different things that we should know how to do when we're functioning in the middle class. And what I was talking about earlier is surviving in poverty. Was when you know how to survive in poverty, once you can do that, you have a greater chance of moving on to the next level of being able to move into middle class. And then there is the functioning in the upper class. I can read a menu in French, English, and another language. Actually, I'm not able to read French. I know a little Spanish and then in English, but I can say that my son knows how to do it. He's military. And then I have several favorite restaurants in different parts of the country. I've not been out of the country. I really have never had a desire to go out of the country. Some people do. I know how and where to hire an interior decorator. Definitely know how to do that. Um, I know how and where to hire domestic help, including maids, caterers, and gardeners. Well, I know how to do that, but I don't have that. And I can name my regular financial advisor, lawyer, and barber or hairstylist. That answer is yes. I have at least 2 residents which are staffed and maintained. I don't. I know how to ensure confidentiality and loyalty from my domestic staff. Well, I know how to ensure confidentiality and loyalty, even though I don't have that. I have at least 2 screens that help keep people from me when I do not wish to see them. I'm not exactly sure what they meant by that. I have, I guess some people could have a security screen door at their house. I frequently vacation in foreign countries. That would be no for me. I fly my own plane, the company plane, jet timeshare, first class. I belong to at least 2 exclusive members only private clubs. I know how to host parties that keep people attend. I know how to enroll my children in the preferred private schools, and that's important if your child is attending private school or something like that. That's actually a good idea. That's good. Yeah, my I was in the military. I'm actually a veteran. Um, and then I know the hidden rules of the junior league, the country club, and other private organizations. My personal phone book contains the unlisted numbers of at least a dozen well-known people. There are people that actually know well-known people, and I'm familiar with personal security systems and devices. I have a favorite artist whom I support by buying his or her work. I am going to, talk about my brother just for a short stint. I have a brother, a younger brother, and actually he wrote a book. It's called Spilled Blood Never Dies. And it's actually on Amazon. And he is a writer and he also produces music. And I have an original picture of him. It's really beautiful with one of his CDs and an article that he wrote many, many years ago. And that is an original that he gifted to me. And I'm always ever grateful to my youngest brother. But he does have a book out there that he wrote, and he's working on other things. He has a website, and I'm real proud of him. So I do know someone, and then I know how to read a corporate financial statement and stock reports in the daily paper. Some people own stocks, and they know how to read the stock report and what it means. I know how to read it, but do I know exactly what everything means? That's I have to work on that. And then I can easily converse about the best wines, art designers, resorts. My clothing, personalized and residential furnishings are created by the most exclusive designers. There are a lot of people out there that are able to do those things. And so this is just like I said, a questionnaire. You can go back and listen to my channel. I would appreciate that. And it will give you the surviving in poverty, will give you the surviving in poverty. And like I said, and I think those are actually great things to teach your children. And I appreciate you sharing that, Miss Sunny B. Lovely, because you will be surprised at how many people that really don't know these things and their children don't. And so it's important, I think, to teach our children how to maneuver through surviving in poverty and then the middle class. And even if you make it to the upper class, that's a blessing within itself. Oh, good. Once you get it, oh, okay, all right, all right, good. So I wrote this paper. Now this is my actual work right here, and I do have some I do have some sightings that I can give you from other authors, but this is actually a paper that I wrote recently in one of my classes, and it's the hidden rules of social class. And I'm going to go ahead and share this paper with my audience, if you will. It's the hidden rules of social class. It's about having knowledge of basic survival skills at each level of the social class. When an individual has learned the basic survival skills at the poverty level, there is an opportunity to gain additional knowledge on how to advance to another economic social class. An individual can learn this information through an employer, volunteer, newspaper articles, flyers, networking, neighbors, church attendance, communicating with others, and through trial error. In order to gain access, the person can contact or visit an agency, a shelter, local church, library, police department, city clerk office, community college, grocery store, food bank, Red Cross, Salvation Army, and any local charity. So to get that information, and this is at the surviving in the poverty level, how can they obtain this information and how can they gain access to it? And then an individual can draw conclusions that advancement to the next social class, the person must be able to function and be self-sufficient at the lower social class. So if you can function and survive in poverty at the lower social class, you do have a better opportunity of surviving and able to move towards the next social class. See, the hidden knowledge is knowing how to survive at each social level and obtaining information that will help you advance. Furthermore, each social level brings about a different type of responsibility by the level of awareness the person obtains. The least the person has to worry about, such as finding food, getting medical care when ill, or getting to work or looking for employment when they lack personal transportation, will allow the individual to focus on self improvement and maybe pursuing a secondary education. So, when you're in poverty and at the poverty level, when you have to worry about basic things that should people should all have access to, is hard. It is really hard to focus. And so once you master those things and you got that down, it's easier to be able to self improve yourself and try to get a secondary education. But on the questionnaire, it was interesting because I could tell you I had the most check marks on the middle social class and the least check marks on the upper class. And I account for my reaction by understanding that economic inequality still exists between the poor and the rich in both income and wealth. And a person only needs just $3,650 in US dollars of wealth to be among the wealthiest half of the world's population. And that's coming from Mooney, Knox, and Schacht. And then Hardoon, he wrote that all you need is $3,650 and you will be among the wealthiest. That's interesting because when we look at $3,650, maybe for some of us that's not, or some people that's not a lot of money. But if you have never had that amount of money, or you don't have money in your bank that can take care of 3 months of rent, then $3,000, and especially right now, $3,600 is a lot of money for some people that are still, struggling and have taken losses through this pandemic. And this actually came from the Credit Suisse Research Institute. And then I learned that I fell into the relative poverty level when I left the military, but I had a level of well-being that most people did not have. And that's true, the relative poverty level, um, from Mooney, Schatz, and Knott and Schatz. And then more than likely, I was low income based on the hourly wage and the fact that I worked 3 jobs until I returned to school. But again, I'm going to say that I argue against meritocracy, because people can work hard and have great abilities and still not become economically successful. And they say that people are just lazy, and if they really work hard, they can be, economic successful. That's not always true. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because under the sociology theories of economic inequality, wealth, and poverty, the structural function perspective, which poverty and economic inequality are dysfunctional for society. There is a conflict perspective where wages are placed over the proletariat, which is the worker. And we've seen that today where a lot of wages are placed over workers. And people have even lost their jobs because they don't want to pay the right, pay wages where people can survive and they can actually thrive and live, and they have moved jobs also out of the country. And then there's the symbolic interaction perspective, how the poor is labeled as lazy, lack of motivation, irresponsible, immorality, and personal deficiency, Katz 2013, which was cited in Mooney, and et al. But these theories all speak about economic inequality that relates to a lack of wealth and opportunity. For the poverty and wealth gap to be closed, there should be a closer look at how wealth is distributed in this country for people to rise out of poverty. I argue that unless the attitudes of people change, most people will think people are lazy and lack motivation to do better, which is really farther from the truth. Are there lazy people that lack motivation? Yes, there is. But that's actually, but you know what? Not everybody, lacks these bad attitudes where they don't want to work. And that's why I say that I argue against that, and it's farther from the truth. And the reason why, I'm going to give you an example. There are many reasons why people might not have obtained wealth. It could be due to illness, loss of employment, due to company closures or moving work overseas to save money, and racial disparities. And as far as education, let's talk about that just for a moment. As far as education, most of the jobs through 2018 do not require an advanced education. So that's hard when you just graduate from college, and most of the recent graduates, a lot of jobs that they're offering now still to this day, and we're in 2020, the latter half of 2020, and they don't require a secondary education. And this is coming from Wider Opportunities for Women 2010. And they write, education is the best insurance policies for protecting an individual against living in poverty. But this seems contradictory if you think about it, because for the most part, because it is no guarantee a person will obtain a higher level of employment due to obtaining a secondary education. I still encourage people to return to school if you can. Your level of awareness increases, your knowledge increases. It helps you to be a better person, self improvement, but it also helps you to help others and to teach others, because you really want to know a little more about what you're talking about to help other people. And so there are many people that are considered working poor who spend at least 27 weeks per year in the labor, whether they are working or looking for a job, which also keeps people in economic disparity. However, I contend my reactions are based on having the basic survival skills at the lower social level in for advancement to the next social level. The more information a person has, the higher awareness level, the better opportunities of success the person will have access to. And and my site reference was coming from Mooney. This Mooney, and I'll show you my book right here. It's Mooney right here. Understanding Social Problems. This is the 10th edition right here. This book right here, if you can see it pretty good. And so, like I said, I just actually just think that, that questionnaire, I really like that questionnaire. It really gave me insight, and it just really made me think about, helping younger people, the younger generation. How can they maneuver? How can they learn the basic survival skills to get to the next level? And I think it's important. And some people may say that's not important, but actually it is important, because for me, like I said, I knew a lot of things when I got out of the service. I went in the service young, and when I got out, I knew a lot of things, but there were things I didn't know. But I was a survivor, and that's the good news. But I survived doing things the right way, doing things according to the law. Because for me, I don't, going in the military, you have freedom, but you don't. And getting out of the military, you become more structured. And I saw some of my friends that had never joined the military, and how they lived their house, how they lived lived their lives, and how they ran their households versus. And I'm not, like I said, saying anything against that. I'm just saying there is a difference, and you see a difference. And so for me, my calling really is to help other people, to preach the gospel, to get messages out there, and to really help other people. And so it's okay to share this video with others, that are raising small children, that they can benefit, because this is an educational video. And I was trying to get my other video loaded. I have another video I wanted loaded, but I couldn't get it loaded yesterday. And that was on code of ethics for human service professionals. But I have other videos, some of my other presentations that I've done that are on my channel, for people like domestic violence, like child maltreatment. That's one of my videos. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. That's on there. And The Color of Beauty, showing the economic oppression, the racial disparity. So there's a lot of information out here. And so I really just, like I said, want to use my channel and my platform to reach people in a more excellent way, and to try to help people, and to just give people hope, and encourage people. I know that we're in a pandemic, and it's been a lot going on, and some people are doing well, some people are not. And so I don't know those people, but I do hope that my messages, are able to be spread to help somebody today, because it's like we're living in a hopeless society. And I don't want people to lose hope. I know it's hard. You know, I've been through a lot in my life. I'm not afraid to say that, you know. But I've also learned, but I know that my faith keeps me grounded, and God has just really helped me through so many things with my spiritual beliefs and faith, and just got me through a lot. And I believe in helping other people. And it's been hard because my pastor and I and my other fellow member ministers, we go out and we feed the homeless, and we haven't been able to go to the shelter to help, minister to the people that reside in the shelters. We haven't really been able to gather at parks and do the work that God has called us to. And so, I don't, get on any platform to proclaim anything but what God has called me to do. And so, I do a lot of outreach in my community. I'm about trying to help and be about God's business. And this is not new for me. It's not a new agenda. I mean, I've gosh, even every community I've been in, I've been a neighborhood watch captain and tried to help my community, and just be that beacon of light and hope for other people. And I pray that people will hear this message, because I know a lot of times people don't want to hear messages like this. They want to hear about gossip and what all the other stuff that's negative in the world, and shooting people down and putting people down on social media. And that's been listening and seeing that has been hard for me. And I've been praying a lot, and a lot of my messages is about hoping that people will see the positivity and turn away and become unified, because we do need unity in this world. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. We've seen that it's been used against people, but the thing is, it really shouldn't matter, because even the Bible, God did not favor any nation or ethnic. He did not do that. What he favored is when people can turn away from their sins and turn to him. That's what God favors. And people need to understand that God doesn't favor you because of the color of your skin. God doesn't favor you when you sit up and think you have an entitlement. Entitlements only lead you to entanglements. And let me say that again. If you are entitled and you start acting out and come at people the wrong way and you're disrespecting folks, your entitlement attitude only leads you to an entanglement. And if you like being entangled in negative things, I'm praying for you, because I don't like to be involved in, entitled to be involved in entanglements. I don't care for that. That's not, you know what, that I'd rather be happy and have a heart of kindness and a heart of peace than a heart of hate and anger. And I'm just going to keep it real with anybody that's listening, and I think we can get more done in love and in peace. And so many people have so many different skills out there. I mean, I want to share this. I have a skill of making jewelry. And I'm going to say this. I have been so afraid to put my jewelry out there that I'm going to fail. I mean, I'm not, because people are cruel and I'm human. I mean, even though I have my faith, I'm human. And I have a lot of beautiful jewelry that I have made, that I name my jewelry, and that I have a workspace making jewelry. And I'm even willing to even give people, just even to send someone something that I've done that's different. My jewelry is different. It's not like expensive jewels and all of that and gems, but I make costume jewelry, fashion jewelry just to wear on a regular basis or to church. And I have given away and gifted, but I wanted to give away, you know, a couple of pieces. I thought about that in my heart, because, that's the type of person that I am. People really don't know me. Um, and I don't have a website, but I do make children jewelry, and I do have some pieces that I can actually. I guess I could do a video and upload it. And if you go to my, I guess I'm on Facebook, but I don't know my Facebook name, but I'm on Facebook, all these different websites. I listed some, and I'll list some more on there, but I guess I can load up some pieces on my YouTube channel so that you can see. But I do have some children jewelry out there, and so I just wanted to share that. But like I said, just not being able to do it because oh, okay, you're just on okay, so I can load it up on, I'll do that. I'll load up some of my pieces on YouTube so that you have access to see those. I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on to my channel. I want to get my channel better, but I just don't have the support right now for people to help me get my channel better. I want to be able to kind of just know how to maneuver more through YouTube because I don't. This is all new for me. God called me to do this several months back. And it's like, okay, God, you want me to preach the gospel? You want me to get the messages out in your word? I'll do it. But I haven't gotten better at like getting my channel. It's not fancy. As you can see, my channel's not fancy like a lot of people's channel. But the message is what I really try to get out. And I'm hoping people will look beyond look beyond and just hear the message that God has for them, or even encouraging words, inspiring words. Um, and so I'm hoping that I can get that out there as far as my channel, because my channel was like 3 subscribers forever and it went up and I was like, wow. And it seemed like it went up after I did that message on Phase's channel, and I appreciate her so much. I had been watching her for a long time, and I just think she has a spirit of love. It shows, it glows, and God placed it on my heart to stand up, to actually stand up and do it, because I was sitting at my table and I said, God just said, you got to call in, you got to go, you got to do that, you got to go on there on that stream. And I did, but I still get nervous. I still get, nervous because, and I actually, I'm not nervous really in front of people when I preach the message at church, but I still get nervous because, like I said, so many people that if you're not speaking their language and you're not being negative or mean, you're not talking about gossip and all the things that's going on, current events that a lot of times people don't want to hear your messages. But I won't be I won't be afraid to preach the gospel no matter what, no matter whether my channel continues to grow or not. I'm not gonna that I won't do, because God gave me that and He's the one that's taking care of me. And that's the thing that people need to understand, that God's the one that provides all our needs. It's not all this other stuff, it's really God. And so I look to Him for everything. And so when I went on her channel, I was thankful. I was truly thankful when I went on her channel. And I'm hoping to be able to talk to other women that have channels that are walking in the light, and that are about the good. And one of the things too is that even though I wasn't able to attend the most recent protest that they went to, I have there are some reasons why I can't do that. You know, there's a lot of reasons why I can't, but I do support it. I have given donations to it, and not only that, um, I have been standing up against injustice for a long time. As a matter of fact, I have actually protested by myself on street corners. And my mom has been like, Renee, I got a nickname. Don't, she's been afraid for me, even in the past, So, it's not about bragging about what I do. I just want people to know that when it comes to injustice, I have brothers, and my heart is like this. If it can happen to family members, if it can happen to what's going on, with Mr. Kelly, Mr. Bill Cosby, all the senseless killings, that has been, it has really grieved me, and this injustice, and it continues to go on. And so we have to be a beacon of light and hope. And I'm like, we got to be like that widow, in Luke 18. We got to keep going back. We can't give up hope. We can't grow weary. We can't fall down. And if we fall down, God gets us back up, to keep fighting this fight and this journey. It's got to be, your journey and destination. The journey is just as important as the destination. You have to be able to appreciate the journey to get to the destination of where God wants you to go and to be. So I leave you with this today, that God will bless you tremendously, that He will open up windows and pour out a blessing that's too big for you to receive, and that you will be able to, if God has given you, resources and knowledge to help someone else, and use that to help other people. God bless you all. And again, I will upload when I get a chance, because I do have some classwork I got to get done. But when I get a chance, I will upload some of my jewelry and some of my pieces, children's jewelry, on my channel for you. God bless you, and thank you for tuning in. I love you. And if you would just at least, like my channel and share my video, I would appreciate that. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.